more and more into this. Yes. Yeah, we're going to go around. We're in the process now. This is what makes me be a little late sometimes, these meetings and stuff. Things are starting to getting a little hectic, but we're going to start going around Texas teaching people about the property taxes. The one thing the two things. But whatever that was, I don't know.
Chorus of angels singing.
But anyway, we're going to start teaching all of Texas about the property taxes. The two things that are killing the American people as well as Texans is the property tax, which we don't really even know when it started. It just kind of people, these tax assessor collectors, they started placing them in the counties. They started sending out documents, and next thing you knew, people were paying property taxes. The other thing is the tickets that you're getting on the highways. There's well over 200 million of those things written every 4-day holiday. You multiply that times $100 average, and you can see how much money has been collected. Those are things that are draining the assets of the people. The property tax just keeps going. Had one of my sons talk to him, and for the first time he really sat and talked, because down in Smith County, which is where we'll be having this next Saturday, their property taxes doubled. And the people down there were just livid. He went down and and argued with them about it, and they did reduce it. And I'll ask you a question. I've asked it before. If something is lawful and it is a lawful tax, then how can you ever plea bargain it? You see, if you go up to a service station, they have lawful taxes on that. Those taxes they're excise taxes. They're lawful. You go up there, what do you think would happen if you went in there and started arguing with a man about paying that tax on that gasoline? You'd have to go down to the next place and argue again, because you cannot argue excise taxes. That is in the product when you come to buy it, and you get to choose whether or not you want to pay it or not. If you don't want to buy any gasoline, don't go there and argue with them about their tax. But property taxes are another animal, and you really need to start talking to people about this and tell them, because property taxes, as near as we can come up with, they're not lawful at all. This was the one thing that would have never have happened when this country was set up. The taxes were what they were hollering about from the beginning. Somewhere around 1870, 60, somewhere in there, all of a sudden, people just started coming forward, and they said, we're the tax assessor collector. And they started sending out notices to everybody. You owe $10 property tax this year. And as they did on the income tax, that didn't seem too bad, so they started paying it. They did not understand where it would go to. The property tax, if you go into, and you have to go in and study these things in the text of what Texas was when it first came. And all property in Texas, it simply says at the first of the year, you must go in and render your property for taxation. Now, what are they saying? You get to choose how much you're going to give to them. If you render it for taxation, then you're the one who sets a value on what you're going to give to them. If you think you have a stick that's really valuable, take that stick in there and give it to them. Just as valuable. They cannot charge you. It's a strange thing, and I've been through this. They cannot charge you Federal Reserve notes for property tax. That ought to tell you something. You see, Federal Reserve notes are what? Debt notes. You cannot pay a debt with a debt. So property taxes are a debt. Property taxes steal your available assets with no hope. You have no way of recovering that. You can pay your house off, and you think about it, $3,000 to $6,000 a year for 40 years. How much is that? That's how much you add on to your house that you paid. And so this thing was started out, and they just started sending these out. Check your tax assessor collector out. Where does he come from? Does anybody tell me where they voted for him in an election? They get this through appointment or by bidding for the job. And now they become the sheriff of Nottingham. They have all of the people in the county, all the sheriffs and everybody else that goes out and takes a house if the person doesn't pay. You remember back when you saw that about Robin Hood, and the old sheriff would go out. He had all these people behind him go in, and he didn't care. He knocked their pots over. He kicked their chickens. He went in and took whatever he wanted to take because they owed it. And so what happens on the property tax then is the tax assessor collector. Then if you do not render that property for taxation, then he's going to, because you didn't render it, he's going to render it for you. He's going to send out you a tax assessment of your property. And you look at that, and most people look at that thing, and they don't understand what it is, and they say, well, that's what they're going to charge me this year, and they throw it over in the corner. And that's a wrong mistake, because at that point you should write to that man when you get it. And you said, hey, I don't know who you are. This is a standard question every time. Everything is about venue and jurisdiction. Who has venue and jurisdiction over your property? You're supposed to, but you keep letting these people come onto your property, and you keep letting them take stuff away from you because you don't ask them the question. Do you ever meet it? I mean, you ever known them people when they come out there? Any of you ever had them come on your property and stuff? Have you ever known them? Do you know who they are? No. Your question is, who are you? Where'd you come from? What venue and jurisdiction do you represent? Are you a foreign agent from a foreign country representing a foreign government? It's exactly what they're doing. They came in through, it's what's called the Bretton Woods Agreement. The Bretton Woods Agreement allowed people from foreign countries to come into the United States and collect taxes from anyone that they said owed it to them. Now, the income tax comes out of Washington, D.C. You have to sit down sometime and ask yourself, what's that all about? Who is the IRS? What bill was ever passed in Congress that put the IRS into the people's government? What bill was ever passed that made the FBI a part of the people's government? What bill was passed that let the CIA be part of the people's government? You have to ask those things, and where'd they come from then? CIA, FBI, IRS comes strictly from, the IRS comes out of England. The FBI and the CIA are simply agencies who enforce the Pope's, not the one that's called the Jesuit. They enforce his policies all over the world, and they're the ones that change governments. And you ever notice the CIA is always involved in some government falling down? The CIA is always the one that gives out the information that this is happening in this country and that country. Did you know it all your... Every one of them, 100%, are cooperative. They do not go over there if they will not spy on the country they're in. This is where it's all gone. and they have a vast network. But the thing with us is we need to learn how to answer those people, and it's simply, who are you? Where'd you come from? Are you an agent for a foreign agency? The definition of agent is anyone who is in a country that is foreign to the venue and jurisdiction of that country, and foreign to the venue and jurisdiction of the people. Otherwise, they're not called agents. They're called one of the people. And so we go along and we see all these agencies, and we see shows on television, FBI and Peace and War, CIA and how they got this country to fall down. You know, we see all of this stuff and we start imagining that they're part of our government until they come on your property and you wonder, what are they doing here? And the issue always is, who are you? Where did you come from? I don't know who you are. You've got to be an agent for an agency of a foreign government. You've got to be a third-party debt collector. Do you understand where all these people come from? They're collecting debts. They're all third-party debt collectors. And the standard first thing you say is, I don't deal with third parties. Do you have venue and jurisdiction? The first thing you ask them is about their rights, about your rights. Are all of my rights secure in what you're doing? If I come into your court, are all of my rights secure? It can and will everything be held against me if I come into your court. If they tell you yes, then the standard answer is, then I can't make a legal determination about what you're asking me. You see, we've been tricked in all this stuff. We've been trained. They've plotted and planned all of this stuff over the years. And it's taken us into total slavery. And they're in a feeding frenzy right now. They're after houses. They're all piranha fish. They simply are out to get anybody's assets that they can grab onto. And if they can't get them, they're going to create a situation where they will. And people don't know what to do with them. If they don't have venue and jurisdiction, and all my life I've been taught this, heard this, you can always charge venue and jurisdiction no matter where the trial has gone to. And everybody always taught that it was subject matter jurisdiction, which is what was put out to get us off. It has nothing to do with subject matter jurisdiction. If they don't have jurisdiction, how can they have subject matter jurisdiction? Subject matter jurisdiction is what they're charging you with. Once they gain jurisdiction by what you say, guess what? They have subject matter jurisdiction. You can challenge that all day long. I've never seen anyone yet ever win. But I have seen people win where they simply challenge the jurisdiction. And there's been 6 cases that I know of that I'm involved in. And so all of them has to do with venue and jurisdiction. No one, all of these courts that are here are from the federal government. All of your littlest courts in town, they're not your state courts. They're called state district court. What's a district? District is part of the United States, a district of the United States. All of these things were put in to set us up to take all of the assets that you have. They've already taken just about all the property. They're now after your labor, your total labor. And pretty soon they will cut that down to where we will be having a hard time finding something to eat. Won't be able to afford it. But you see, this is getting worse by the day. And if you will start doing this, you can bring this thing into line the way it should be. This is why the Republic of Texas came back up. This is the 9th time this has been started. So we're not the only people in the history that have wanted to bring it back in. We have the documents. We have everything. They have nothing. And so now we're starting to tell them, anyone of our people get thrown in jail, you've got one of our people, let them go. They're on the land. You're foreign to this land. You kidnapped these people. Let them go. After a while, this is going to have to start having an effect on them. Our piece of the county is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But what we're after now is the property tax. The property tax, once he sends you that letter of assessment, he'll tell you on there, she'll tell you, don't worry about paying this bill right now. You'll get a bill later. That's the offer of contract. So you simply write across their thing, I don't know who you are. And I've done this so many times, it's not even funny. It goes around the circle. Because nobody can gain jurisdiction if you do it right. First it goes to them, then he gives it to the criminal district attorney. He starts trying to tell you where the state has a right to collect these taxes under code number so-and-so. You simply write him back, say, I don't know who you are. Same deal on everyone. It doesn't change. Who are you? I didn't write to you. You see, who'd you write to? The tax assessor collector. Why don't he answer? Because he can't. He has no way to tell you that he has a right to take that money. So he gives it to the criminal district attorney, who he thinks will scare you to death. God, I got a letter from the criminal district attorney. What am I going to do now? They got to be bad. Well, they are. They're criminal. So anyway, he gets through with it. He won't answer you again. And then they give it to the seven dwarfs. Seven dwarfs threaten to take you to court. And you say, I don't know who you are. Never met you in my life. You know, you got to establish your venue and jurisdiction. And so then he'll give it back to who? The tax assessor collector. And all he does is send you another bill. You see, he doesn't have the authority to collect it. And we sit here and act as if he does. So then, when you get the bill, you can go at him in two or three the same way. I don't know who you are. And you got to show me your venue and jurisdiction before I'm going to pay you anything. You either can do that or you can do the bond. At that time, that is an assessment. That is a judgment, or it's a value that they placed on what they sent you. At that time, send him a bond. It gets noticeably quiet then, because now he's lost that he was going to collect, and his piece of the pie is going to be somewhat smaller. So if everybody does that, what is going on now? The cities are complaining they need more money. Why do they need more money? 80% of their government shouldn't even be there. We did a study with the RT some 5-6 years ago, and we came to the conclusion that 80% of all governments are unnecessary. Only 20% of the people working for the city need to be there. What have they done? Gone out and hired private people to come in. In other words, took jobs away from people who are working out in the public, that are not the public, to private people. So they hire all of their own electricians. Well, who should the money be going to? Should be going to the people, shouldn't it? Not to the city. See, and so this came out in a deal where I was talking about. There's about 50 sheriffs and chief of police and all that, and I said, y'all don't understand what you're doing, or maybe you do and you don't care. But I said, when somebody steals something in a store, what do y'all do? Well, when they call us in, we arrest him and take him downtown. I said, what do you do then? Well, if he steals a steak, then we fine him. We write him a ticket. I said, who gets paid the ticket? Well, the city does. I said, where does the city fit into this? The city didn't get robbed. The store got robbed. Now, you've got his stake. What do you do with that? And one of them said, well, usually the guy went down and made the arrest, takes it home, puts it on his grill. Because it'll go bad if we just leave it there. So, you know, that's their reasoning. And I said, and here you've they've stolen a $10 steak. You write them a $100 ticket. And then you get paid $100 and the store gets nothing. How does that equate? I don't understand that. I said the man ought to have to pay back to the store 7 times what he stole. Then he won't be down there stealing again. And so he may steal somewhere else, but not there. But usually what you'll find, I said, that man's probably stole $1,500 that day. You fine him $100. He's made $1,400. Why should he care about the 100? And I said, all you've done is made a thief out of him. So I said, it just doesn't equate, and this is exactly what's going on with us. Is these people simply are stealing from us, and the cities are all set up, and why they do that is they've got 52% of the population now works for some government of some sort. In other words, either the state, the county, the city, the town, the school district, whatever. So guess what happens when they have an election? You're outnumbered, aren't you? Even if you went out and campaigned and got everybody, and they got everybody, you'd still lose, wouldn't you? So the issue on that is we need to start teaching people on property taxes. I know people say, well, I'm afraid they'll take my house. You better be afraid they're going to get it, because if you don't do something now, 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to lose it and not get anything out of it. You realize they take your house on these things, and they cannot take them for taxes. But they do it every day, don't they? But they're not allowed to, but they do, because nobody stands up and says no. What do you get when they come and you take your house for the taxes? Do they say, okay, this house is worth $150,000, and he owes $3,000 on taxes, and so we owe him $147,000.
Oh yeah.
Or do you get a bill later on and said, hey, you still owe us this much more. You didn't pay the house down that much. We only got $40,000 for it, so you still owe $110,000. You see where this is carrying you? We have gone into stupor in our lives. We just totally have gone down to thinking that we're wise and letting other people do our thinking for us. I have a saying, man's pride far exceeds his intelligence. And that's true. He'll sit there and, like the monkey, he gets his hand in that watermelon, holds on to that candy, and here comes the lion, and what does he do? Will he let go of that candy? No. That's his candy. Ain't nobody going to take that candy. And so he's concentrating so much on holding on to that candy, he can't get his hand out of the watermelon, and the lion comes and eats him up. What good's his candy? The lion gets the candy too. So, I had something that I wanted to read out, and it looks like I might have left it out of my things that I thought was pretty good. Oh, this I think is hilarious. You think those copyrights don't work. Now, here's a man who wrote to the Office of the State's Attorney, Lincoln County. This comes out of South Dakota. So he had evidently sent him. He sent him a bond with his to pay for his taxes on his car. Along with it, he sent a copy of his copyright. Here's what he gets back: Mr. 1983 Oldsmobile, SD license number so and so, Hudson, South Dakota. In regards, 1983 Oldsmobile, SD license 44 so-and-so. Dear Mr. Oldsmobile, he says, greetings and salutation. It's that time of the year again. We have noted that the tags that validate your South Dakota license plate have nearly expired by now, but how time flies. Please direct your owner to mail 3890 to the treasurer of Lincoln County, so she can send him the tags necessary for you to be operated on the roadways of this state. While I recognize that your owner likes to dicker as to the method of payment for such item, our treasurer is very particular about receiving payment before she mails out license tags. Please tell your owner that he's free to call me at any time to discuss this pending matter. I do not believe that I am one of the elected officials he recognized, but maybe he will call anyway. Best regards. Thomas R. Wallman, State's Attorney. Well, that's an amusing letter, but the issue is then he should get a power of attorney for his Oldsmobile and write back to him. So. You see, all this stuff is starting to make them have to come up with new things, and so the other thing that we want to talk about a little is the tickets that you're getting on the highway and so forth. And some of these are now people are starting out. I don't know if the trucker that called me is here. But anyway, he called me from out on the highway, said he was coming in. I thought he was going to be in last night. But anyway, he says he goes up and down the highways trying to teach truckers, and he has a unique way of doing it. But he's gotten rid of 11 tickets that just totally disappeared by doing this. And he said that first thing he hands them, he said underneath what they're asking for, all the license and all this other stuff, he puts on top his UCC1. And he hands it to him, and he said, you do understand that you're totally liable in case any harm comes to my person or my family. And he said, Texas, he says, is the easiest of all of them. He said, California, they get kind of nasty, but Texas, he said, he said that the cops just look at it and go back and talk on the radio and come back and say, have a nice day, and they take off. But I thought he was going to be here, but evidently he didn't make it. And so, but the issue on the traffic ticket is simply this. In commerce, everyone has to have a license. In commerce, everyone has to have a license to practice law. You're the one who gives license to anyone to practice law. You have a license to travel in commerce. And so the issue is when they come to your car is when they ask you for your license, they're not asking for your card as much as they're asking, license me in commerce to write you this ticket. I can't do it without your permission. And that is where they're coming from. And once they do it, and this is the reason it is so hard to fight a traffic ticket, is because you gave license to the man to write you the ticket. You gave him that permission. And so this is why they fight you so hard on the traffic tickets. And we're finding that the easiest thing to say to them is, officer, can anything I say or do be held against me in your court of law? He's got to tell you yes. At that point you say, well, I can't make a legal determination about what you're asking me for. People have before told have told the policeman that my attorney tells me not to divulge any information, and that seemed to work. So it's the same thing. All you're telling me is if you're going to get me for something I say or do, and you're asking me for my license, then I can't give it to you because I'm not going to make a legal determination and let you have that license to come after me. The traffic tickets used to, even in my younger days, they hardly ever gave you a ticket that you had to pay. As long as you were fairly nice with them, they would just give you a warning and say, don't let me see you drag racing out here on Jefferson Boulevard again. And yes, sir, I won't. And so then you'd wait till he's gone, you'd hear you and the other guy